Hello everyone, this is DM Gashbad, just showing off a project I've been working on the last few weeks. I'll give a little instructions in case you want to build something similar, but here we have it. It's a helipad, helicopter landing pad for your games of Batman Miniatures game or Marvel Universe Miniatures game, whatever you like. Anyway, these things it's not like action movies don't fight on helicopter landing pads. They do quite a bit. Civil War fought over 2 helicopters in the course of the movie. The TV show Arrow has several fight scenes on a helipad. But the reason I made this is for a very specific reason. I have a scenario in mind that I want to try out for the Marvel game. Hopefully I'll be bringing you the details on that when it comes together. But for the time being, this is this. Now I like this for a couple of reasons. It adds a little elevation to it, but it's not inaccessible to models that can't fly or bat claw. It does block line of sight. It's easy to store because it's not very tall. It's a pretty simple shape, and it's easy to make just in general. So what it is it's a piece of flat hardboard or MDF for the base, about 13 inches by 13 inches. You can see I had a sign there that I repurposed. I beveled the edges with my Dremel. Then I have a lower section here, which is just 4 rectangles of foam board, about 7 inches by 1 3/4 inches. So 7 inches long, 1 3/4. Stack them up in strips, make a little box. Then on top of that, I set a big piece of foam board, and what is the dimension of that? 9 inches by 9 inches. So foam board I've always had a little bit of trouble with because when you cut it, it makes a pretty ragged edge because it's just pieces of paper on either side of styrofoam. So I tried using an all-purpose filler to wipe across the sides, then taking a sanding sponge and sanding that down. It worked okay. Worked a little bit better than I thought in some ways. It didn't give a perfectly smooth edge, but it made it smooth enough. The one thing I will say that if you intend to spray paint this before you paint it, all I did was I put on the spackle, the filler material, and then I painted the edges black, and I thought that would be enough to protect the styrofoam inside from the spray paint because the spray paint will dissolve the styrofoam. It didn't entirely, and so I had a couple of bubbles and gaps that formed after I hit it with the spray paint. So what I'll probably do next time is I will do the filler, do the sanding, and then give it a coat of white glue on the edges, and hopefully that'll seal it off so the spray paint doesn't get to it. So the next thing I did was I made these grate sections along the edges, and I made those out of long matchsticks. I made a little frame. The frame's about, if you want to copy along with this, the frame is about 8.5 inches long, and it hangs over the edge about 1.5 inches. You can see it goes a little bit further. It goes all the way to the inner square to add support to it. I was a little worried about some of these heavy knight models. If any of them end up on the screen itself, I want a little extra support so it doesn't all fall apart. So I made a frame of those. I covered that with, again, screen door material, and then I added these, let's see, can you see them? You can see them over here. These diagonal supports leading up, and of course supports on all of the edges. So the ladders were the biggest pain. These I made from craft popsicle sticks, just cut them down, cut some diagonals, and then of course gluing them together was difficult. What I ended up doing was taking hot glue and sticking each one on individually, and then while the glue was still cooling, mush them into position. It was challenging, and I think they're not in scale perfectly. I think those stairs are a little big. So I'm probably going to have to figure out another method of doing that for the next time. Anyway, the picture I had of the helipad had these long rectangles I don't know what they are, what they do, but I decided, well, if the picture has them, I'll put them in there. So those are just long matchsticks cut down, painted gray. And then they had these little landing lights. Now these are just little bits of sprue. So let me close in right there so you can kind of see that they're just those little tabs from plastic miniatures where the plastic is inserted, and you should, if you have any plastic models, you should have a bunch of those lying around. So I just cut those off, glued them on, painted them red. Now for the helicopter landing symbol itself, that one's actually pretty straightforward. Just went on the internet, found a picture of of that H symbol, printed it out about 7-inch diameter. So then you get something like this there. And then I did an old student art trick. I flipped it over and I took a flat of a pencil and I just rubbed it all along the edge of where the lines are. Then when it came time to transfer this, I just set it down there, carefully pressed down and drew along here and made myself a cheap and easy carbon paper so that when I took this off, the impression I left a little graphite mark along the edge. So then it's just painting it up like anything. Flat colors, most of the stuff I gave a wash, then a couple layers of dry brush, and then I added a few more brown and black stains on the ground level, on the helipad. I also added some rust effects, just washes of brown and stipples of orange on the things like the corner of the stairs, on the edges of the grating. And yeah, then it's done. It was a pretty quick project. I think it's going to stand out on the table. I'll give you a view of what it looks like with the rest of the train in just a moment. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Oh, yeah, one more thing. They did have a vent on the side in the picture that I was using. So I created a quick one out of foam board. Just made a small cube just with a diagonal end, and then did this spackling, and then just added one little strip of cardboard along here. And I didn't bother with a grate or anything. I figured Batman already came through and pulled that off. So yeah, I'll be back in a moment to show you what it looks like with the rest of the train. Okay, so here we have a shot of the game table with the new helicopter landing pad, a collection of models, and the rest of the train. We've got Marvel Universe Miniatures game getting set up here, little Avengers versus Guardians of the Galaxy, just in honor of the Guardians getting their new movie out. So you can see I picked up a toy helicopter, die-cast New Ray Eurocopter, I believe it's called. Again, I put this at 1/43rd scale, and it just looks a little bit too small, actually. So maybe next time I pick up one of these things, I'll go down to 140 or something like that. But otherwise, the table's looking kind of full. Looking pretty good, I'd say. Could use some buildings and some stuff like that, but just give you a look around. And again, if you have any questions on how this was made or anything else, go ahead and put a comment down below. Otherwise, hopefully I'll be back to go over some of the details of the scenario that I hope to use this helipad with. And so yeah, I will see you on the next one.